please welcome with me very loudly the co-founder of Evmos, Federico Kunze Küllmer.
What's up, what's up, what's up? My name is Federico. I'm the co-founder of Evmos, and today I'm going to introduce you Evmos and the future of blockchain interoperability. When we talk about interoperability, we often think about like three main interoperability clusters. We have, on one end, the Cosmos ecosystem with the IVC protocol. We have the Polkadot cluster with cross-chain method passing. And then we also have like the Ethereum or EVM ecosystem with all the different bridges and different bridge solutions that they have. Until now, these three main interoperability clusters could be seen as like different local groups where you couldn't send transactions between themselves until IVC was launched and bridges like started to spin out between like these different chains connecting different EVM chains. So the goal here is to try to create like a interoperability supercluster where you can send all these transactions between these different EVM chains, Polkadot chains, and Cosmos chain. And this is where Evmos plays in. So Evmos is an EVM IVC-enabled chain in the Cosmos ecosystem that is able to bring all the interoperability, composability, user experience, and developer experience to the Cosmos ecosystem so that all the developers that are coming from the EVM world can come into the Cosmos and like start using the applications and toolings that they're already familiar with. We see Evmos as a main point of entry from all these different applications into the Cosmos ecosystem. But when we start about thinking also about like all these EVM chains spinning up in all these different ecosystems, like what makes Evmos different than any other EVM chain? So Evmos has novel tokenomics, has a community and user experience. He has the EVM component, which is composable and built on the Cosmos SDK, and it has the interoperability component through IVC. Now I'm going to talk about all these different things, but with a special focus around interoperability. So, economics. The Evmos token model was built when we saw that there was a misalignment between all the different users that the Ethereum ecosystem had. So we saw like there was a imbalance between like token holders, DeFi users, application developers, core developers, and also miners in Ethereum, in this case, validators, because we're using proof of stake. We designed a token model that is able to create incentive alignment between all these different users through like staking, user incentives, the decentralized app store that we introduced, grants and the community pool funds that are able to fund new development teams, and also like transaction fees and block rewards for validators. So the main thing that we're trying to focus here is the developer incentives. When we think about EIP 1559, currently the base fee, which is like how the feed market was structured through EIP 1559, is burning all these tokens that are on Ethereum at the moment. And the priority tip goes to miners or validators. Whereas for Evmos, the base fee, instead of being burned, is shared between like the validators and the developers of the smart contract. So every time you send a transaction to a decentralized application, you're sending and you're funding the development for these decentralized application teams. This way, we're able to create incentive alignment and create a new source of revenue for all these different teams and validators and also developers. And the other part is, how do we incentivize users to interact with these applications? And the main thing that we saw is like we took like the DeFi approach into like an L1 of how do we incentivize, the same way you find on an AMM, how do you incentivize different LP pools, how can we replicate that with smart contracts? So we took the model that we had for the grass drop, and we were able to distribute 25% of the block rewards to usage incentives. So for example, usage incentives work by every time you interact with a smart contract, you have some number of gas that you spend in this contract. At the end of 1 week, you're able to distribute all these rewards from all the users that interacted with this protocol to the users of these applications. So you're, through governance, deciding on which applications are going to be incentivized, and you're able to reward the usage of these governance-approved usage incentives. In this case, it's already live right now on mainnet through Diffusion, who created a governance proposal to incentivize their AMM. So every time a user interacts with Diffusion, they're able to get transaction rewards as rebates after 1 week. So the Evmos token model works as follows. Developers or any user can propose new usage incentive to bring more growth into their decentralized applications. Then incentive drive users and reward them with more Evmos tokens. Then users spend these Evmos tokens they got from the usage incentives to use these different decentralized applications and services that Evmos provides. And then through this usage, whenever like a user spends the transaction fees, developers get 50% of those transaction fees, and they're able to like incentivize more growth and propose new incentives in order to create a positive reinforcement cycle for all the applications that are deployed on Evmos. So this way, we're incentive aligning all the validators, the users, and the developers. The next main component of Evmos is the community and user experience. Evmos is introducing the first ever decentralized application store where we are introducing a product on top of an L1 that is able to serve as like a decentralized marketplace for decentralized applications and users to interact with these applications. Right now, we have more than 50 applications already deployed on Evmos, and they're all going to be part of the decentralized app store. They're going to be like also Cosmos applications through IVC are going to be able to be displayed in this decentralized application store. Like region, if we want to, for example, incentivize like ecological regeneration. So we have like all these applications natively deployed on Evmos, plus the entire interchain cluster of Cosmos, Ethereum, and Polkadot ecosystem applications that we be able to display in this decentralized application store. Now, the third main component is the EVM. And why Ethermint, which is the main EVM in the Cosmos ecosystem library, is able to create programmability and composability through the EVM, but also sovereignty and interoperability, which is the main selling use case for application-specific blockchains on Cosmos. Ethermint provides an EVM and EIP 15.15.9 modules for the Cosmos SDK chains. And also, it provides a JSON RPC for Ethereum endpoints, so that users that are already familiar with Ethereum can interact with MetaMask. They can use their Block Scout, Block Explorer, as usual, as they're already familiar with on Ethereum and EVM environments. And this connects with all the other modules that you can provide to your decentralized, to your chain on Cosmos. One of the main selling points that Ethermint also provides is the ability for you to sign IVC transaction using MetaMask. This is able to send IVC transfer, for example, from Evmos account to an Osmosis account connected via Kepler, so that you can connect both MetaMask and Kepler and automatically send Evmos and ERC20 tokens between your two chains, just using like MetaMask without having to connect any other external wallet. This is able to expand the EVM environment also to the interchain and to the Cosmos ecosystem. And then the fourth main pillar of Evmos is interoperability. And the main thing of how we're bringing all this liquidity and all this development ecosystem from the EVM chain is through EVM bridges. So users right now on Evmos can choose different bridges based on the security and latency guarantees of each individual bridges and according to their preferences. For example, with Nomad and connects right now, you can choose whether or not you have like an optimistic bridge, or you want like a fast bridge which is able to send transaction between 7 and 10 minutes. And already there are like more than 25 chains connected to Cosmos, expanding the limits of the interchain ecosystem to the entire EVM world and the Polkadot ecosystems. Then we have IVC-enabled ERC20. Evmos is the first ever chain that is introducing IVC-enabled ERC20s through a governance mechanism that is able to map an ERC20 with a Cosmos token. Then you're able to send your convert your ERC20 token to a Cosmos representation of the same coin and send it via IVC to another chain. Right now, this is going to be enabled on mainnet tomorrow. And it's already live on our testnet, and as you can see here, Diffusion on their testnet application was able to create an LP pool between ERC20 representation of the Graph token and the wrapped Evmos. So that you will be able to send Osmosis, Atom, and all these different coins that already exist in the Cosmos ecosystem into the Evmos EVM and interact with the different applications that will be deployed in the App Store, decentralized application store. Another cool thing that we're building is IVC precompiles. When we start thinking about like, okay, we have one EVM chain on Cosmos and another EVM chain on Cosmos, ideally we would not like for all these different applications to be deployed twice and increase the state of both chains. So one thing that we're doing is creating an IVC precompiled contract so that we are able to so that two smart contracts are able to interact with each other without the loss of composability. So right now, for example, Evmos could deploy a smart contract on the EVM on Ethermint and interact that contract via IVC with a smart contract that is deployed on Kronos, and vice versa. This is able to enable new use cases that weren't possible before in the interchain ecosystem. So the general benefits of the IVC precompiles is that it enables interchain composability and it scales horizontally all the different applications. You can interact with the smart contracts no matter where they're deployed, whether they are deployed on Evmos, whether they're deployed on Ethermint chain. You can interact with them via IVC no matter what. And then you have, this is turning the EVM chains on Cosmos, making Evmos the primarily EVM hub, as Evmos will be the main service provider and infrastructure provider for all these different applications, and we'll be able to connect them via IVC. The next thing that we're working on is IVC Ethereum transactions. So with the IVC precompile, I explained the use case between connecting two different EVM-enabled chains on Cosmos. But what happens when you have a Cosmos chain that doesn't have an EVM necessarily? How is this application able to call a smart contract that is deployed on Evmos? And this is where IVC Ethereum transactions come in. So for example, Sommelier is an Ethereum coprocessor that currently uses Gravity Bridge in order to interact with smart contracts that are deployed on Ethereum. Unfortunately, due to latency constraints on how Gravity Bridge is built, they're able to send all these transactions to Gravity, then the transactions is approved and confirmed on Ethereum, and then you have to wait for the confirmation period in order for Sommelier to interact with this response and manage all the sellers or strategies that they currently have deployed. They currently have this Quarks module that is able to create new strategies. So with IVC Ethereum transactions, they can turn this module into an IVC-enabled application that is able to send an IVC Ethereum transaction via IVC to, for example, AVB3 that is going to be deployed on Evmos, and then reduce the latency for all their users and have the same user experience that they currently have, but for the user is going to be better. So the main benefits for this is also the interchain composability again, horizontal scalability, because like it expands the utility of these smart contracts beyond the EVM. Now, non-EVM applications can interact with the smart contracts. And it's also lower latency and better user experience overall for the end user. Finally, I'm going to talk about share security and interchain security. Evmos will be the main EVM hub in the Cosmos ecosystem. Unfortunately, compared to 3 years ago, it's way easier to bootstrap a validator set in Cosmos. You basically create an incentivized testnet, and you already have your validator set. The main thing is, how do we create a package deal for all the different applications that are going to be using this EVM and this Ethermint module? How do we create value for all the Evmos users and overall all these applications that not necessarily have to redeploy? I had an issue. To redeploy all these applications twice. For example, like talk to these different block explorers, the wallets, and infrastructure. So Evmos is going to be able to provide all the decentralized applications, infrastructure, and services connected via IVC so that it can provide an entire package for EVM sovereign chains that are going to be focusing on DeFi, NFTs, gaming, etc. It's going to be able to provide security. It's going to be able to provide explorers. It's going to be able to provide wallets like Gnosis Safe, and it's going to be able to provide infrastructure services like the graph. So you will be able to export this state of Evmos. You launch your application on Evmos. You can export your state using one click into a new consumer chain. And with all the tools that we will be able to provide as products for user acquisition, the gas drop calculator or a hard spoon mechanism, you're able to bootstrap your new chain and be able to create the new consumer chain as is by just one-click deploy. And we believe that this is going to be beneficial overall for the entire Evmos ecosystem, because all these different chains that are going to be using the gas drop calculator and the hard spoon mechanism are going to be able to give commission to the Evmos community via airdrops. So this is how it's going to look like. This Evmos is going to be able to provide all the wallets, infrastructure, the dApp store services for these new consumer chains, and all the infrastructure. And through IVC, they will be able to connect all these different applications that are going to be deployed on the consumer chain with all these infrastructure and services that is going to be available on Evmos. So we're bringing the entire interchain user experience together by just creating an entire package for IVC-enabled consumer chains that are going to be connected through Evmos and share this security. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico. We have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So the very first question, like we basically have two similar ones, so I will pack them into one question. So the one question is when Kepler claim and then when claim with Ledger.
Yes, so right now Kepler users can connect their ledger and import their claim records via the dashboard. This is going to be enabled today when we also enable the model that I showed you to sign with MetaMask and Kepler and send transactions to Osmosis or any other IVC-connected chain. This is going to be enabled by the end of the day today, and tomorrow users will be able to import their wallet directly into Evmos.
Nice. And another question is a little bit more about DeFi. So are you happy about all the Evmos dApps that emerged on Evmos so far? I think this question is like for all the dApps like Diffusion, for example.
Yeah, so generally there's two ways of interacting with decentralized applications, like coming to a new ecosystem. Either you have like the blue chip applications that are able to that were able to be deployed on different chains already, and then you have like the new applications that are spinning up natively on the ecosystem. We're trying to balance both in a way that we want the blue chip applications like Aave, the Graph, etc., to be deployed on Evmos and provide value for the entire Cosmos ecosystem. But then we also want these new applications, these new teams that are able to leverage all these interoperability components, all the novel tokenomics, for example, like the Fusion, that created these LP pool under testnet already, and are soon going to be able to deploy the LP pool with IVC-enabled RVC-enabled ERC20s and EVM-enabled Cosmos coins through the ERC20 module. So we are trying to balance both in a way that they're bringing value to the entire Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because also more developers are being incentivized to join Evmos. So I mean, we have many layer ones like Nia that have like all the Ethereum dApps on top of it, so I think that's more exciting. Another question that is very good is, with all of these block incentives, are you not worried about inflating the base token value?
You can go to our token model blog post where we explain our reasoning behind having like a really high inflation initially. Also because like all these user incentives and staking will be able to create more value. Like it makes financially sense to deploy your decentralized application on Evmos as opposed to any other EVM chain because of all these economic model that I just showed you. Because you're able to incentivize all your development team, and you're also enabled to incentivize all your users via these usage incentives. And plus, you're able to connect your application with the rest of the Cosmos and interchain ecosystem. So you're not only bound to one specific EVM, you're able to expand now the limits of interoperability towards like all these different EVM chains and Cosmos chains that are going to be connected through IVC.
Another very interesting question is, that's the last question for today. From the developer's perspective, what does it mean for Evmos when ETH is switched from proof of work to proof of stake?
I think it's going to be it's going to make bridging or like IVC connections way easier, as Saki said. I think there's going to be like IVC connected EVMs to like an Ethereum L2 rollup, for example. But as I mentioned now, Evmos is just not an EVM. It's the entire ecosystem of user experience, the community, the novel tokenomics that are able to first incentivize users, developers, and validators in the same way so that we're creating a sustainable growth for the entire ecosystem of applications. So it's not just, I'm personally not afraid of ETH2 launching because we're able to create all these novel use cases and novel economic model through the Cosmos SDK.
Thank you, Federico.
Thank you very much.